Hello and welcome to the final lesson of the computational thinking unit. This lesson is going to be a revision lesson because next week you've got your end of unit checkpoint. And we want to be as prepared as possible for that. So we're going to recap the 4 things we've looked at over the last few weeks: decomposition, abstraction, pattern recognition and algorithms. We'll then look at some revision techniques that I want you to have a go at and make sure we are as prepared as possible for when that end of unit test starts next week. So part 1 of this is going to be a simple recap. We're going to look through what we covered this unit. I'm not going into any sort of detail here, it is just a recap. If at the end of the recap you're not sure what I'm talking about, you need to go back to that lesson and go through the materials from there again. There's not enough information here for you to learn it all from scratch. This is just to show you what we covered. If you, at the end of the recap, think, yes, I've got that, fine. If not, go back to that lesson and have another look. So, the first thing we looked at was decomposition. In decomposition, we were breaking down problems into smaller, more manageable problems. And our skill was to create a decomposition diagram for a problem. Example, like that one there, where we had to find the tallest year 8 class, and we realised we had to split that into getting the average height of each class and then selecting the maximum. Getting the average height needed further splitting into asking the year 8 students for their height and form, and then calculating the averages. The calculating the averages also could be split further, resulting in this diagram. The second lesson we looked at was abstraction. For abstraction, we were removing unnecessary detail from a problem to create a simpler problem. The skill that we learned was how to identify what aspects of a problem are not necessary and which ones are. The examples were the London Underground map, where we decided that the geographical location of the stations was not actually necessary for the map's purpose of knowing which trains take people where they want to go. We also looked at diagrams. So 2 stick figures could show that one person was twice the height of the other. We didn't need it to be accurate representations of the people. We didn't need to look like the people. We just needed to show that they were people and one was twice as high as the other. And we looked at models. Now, models were where we take a specific case and make it as general as possible. We look for general characteristics. So instead of saying this particular dog makes this particular noise, we say a dog makes a noise. And we build our model around that. Third lesson was pattern recognition. In pattern recognition, we identified any repeating elements and took those out and told them to repeat. This made some solutions much simpler. The skill was to be able to spot repetition and follow instructions which made use of loops. So the example down here, repeat 3 times, move forward twice, then turn left. That's an easy way to write a solution instead of saying move forward, turn left, move forward, turn left, move forward, turn left. By spotting the repetition, we are able to simplify the solution. Then finally, last week we looked at algorithms. Algorithms are a step-by-step set of instructions to solve a problem. They're the result of all the previous things, and they are the way to present the solution. And the skills were to follow a structured English algorithm and also to create and follow flowcharts. Structured English algorithms were just written in text. As long as another person can understand it, that's fine. It didn't need to follow any specific syntax. The flowcharts were more formal and follow a more rigid structure. So it had terminators, the processors, and the decisions. And if you don't remember those shapes, have a look at last week's lesson. It's all explained in detail in there. So that's our recap. What you now need to do is choose one or more revision materials and make one for this unit. You did this during term 1 when you looked at networks. The last lesson of that was revision as well, and we made similar revision materials to this. So if you know what works for you, go with that. I'm going to go through them all, and for each one of these, you can either do it pen and paper, or you can use an online tool like goconquer.com. You used goconquer.com back in the first term, so if you have your account, you know how to use it, go for that. If you're struggling with it, go pen and paper. It's more straightforward, and you'll be able to do it without any technical problems. So the first system is a mind map. Mind maps are fantastic for helping to categorize large amounts of data because we represent the data in the same way that our brains store it. When your brain stores something, it stores a category and then it finds all the information associated with that category. You then go down one of those paths to find the thing you're looking for, and then it finds the information associated with that. You pick one of those and it finds the information associated with that. By working its way through this path, that's how you get to the information that's stored up there. So if you store the information in a similar system, so start with computational thinking, and from there have abstraction, decomposition, pattern recognition and algorithms as the main things associated with it, then pick one of those, say algorithms, and say there's structured English and flowcharts associated with that, then pick flowcharts and say associated with that is terminator, process and decision and an example, then it's really going to help you remember this stuff. That's a good example of how to start. Create your flowchart, create your mind map, either using Go Conquer like this one or pen and paper. The second technique is to use flashcards. Flashcards are where you get small pieces of paper and on one side you write, say, a question or a keyword, and on the back you write the answer to that question or the definition of that keyword. When you've got your stack of flashcards, you pick them all up, you read what's written on one side, and then you try and say out loud what is written on the other side. If you get it right, if you've remembered it, then you put it in one pile. If you can't remember it or you get it wrong, you put it in another pile. After you've been through all your flashcards, you now have a smaller pile over here, and that's the stuff you still need to work on. So you take them away, you do some work on it, you come back a couple of days later, you pick up this pile of flashcards, and you do the same thing. Read the front, can you say what's on the back? If you can, put it in this pile, if you can't, put it in this pile, and now you have an even smaller pile. And by repeating this, eventually you should get this pile down to a very small amount, or even none, indicating you know your stuff. You can do a digital one on Go Conquer, which allows you to put the front and back of each card, and then it will present them to you in that style, and you can put a tick across whether you got it right or wrong, and it will keep track of which ones you need to keep working on. Or just do it pen and paper. Third and final revision technique I'm going to look at today is simply making a quiz. By having to come up with questions yourself, it forces you to really consider what kind of things you need to know about the topic. If you can make a quiz and ideally swap it with someone else who also done a quiz, you answer theirs, they answer yours, and then mark each other's, that really makes you consider the information. Make a solution sheet to it as well, or if you do it on Go Conquer, it will have tools for making multiple choice ones where you can tell it which one's right or which one's wrong, like this one here. And then finally, I want you to find out what you do and don't know by attempting the quiz on the VLE. This is not a new quiz, this is all the questions from the previous 4 lessons worth of quizzes. This time it's set up to allow you to have as many attempts as you want, and as soon as you're finished it will tell you exactly what questions you got right and wrong and what the correct answers were. It's there as a tool for you. We're not going to use the answers for this in any calculations, we're probably not even going to check the scores. This is there for you to know what you need to work on. So what you need to do is answer this quiz without looking at any notes. Just see what you can do purely from your own memory. At the end of it, you can look at the score you got, you can then review it, and you can look through and see which questions you got right, which questions you got wrong, and that should tell you which topics you're strong at and which topics are weaker. That will help you focus your revision a bit more. You can do that quiz as many times as you like, there's no limitation on that, so keep doing it over a few days and see if you can get higher and higher scores. But always do it from memory. If you're doing it looking up answers, that's not helping at all because the end of unit test won't be done that way. And that's it. That's all there is to this. Do your revision techniques, look back over previous lessons if you need to, use that quiz to help you find out what you do and don't know, and hopefully by next week you'll be really well prepared with the end of unit test. And I'll see you for your next lesson.